Alright folks, this is my first attempt at a reaction video. I have absolutely no idea how to make an actual reaction video, and everyone I've asked wasn't able to really help other than give me a screen capture. I don't know how to make one of those big banner thingies and have an avatar with my pretend face on it speaking here. So I'm just going to interrupt this video from time to time. This is the video by PikMonWolf, who made a video ripping apart Jacob Taylor and giving him a good roasting, a roasting that he deserves and needs. All right, let's give it a go.
Spoilers for the entire Mass Effect trilogy, but pretty much all of those spoilers pertain to the worst Squadmate, so
Amen.
do you really care? I'll give a warning before any spoilers that actually matter. The Mass Effect series is a favorite of many, and while the gameplay and plot
Definitely true. Definitely true.
have some major highs, they do also have some deep lows.
Well, the third game especially, and but the second game is not immune to that, and not because of Jacob, but because the complete lack of diplomacy in the second game really bothers me. I love the characters, but I don't like the voice options.
The main thing that cemented the love of so many for the series is its characters. More particularly, the crewmates who join you on missions, with a total of 20 unique crewmates across the games. Not including temporary ones. Sorry, Jenkins. And while
To be fair, half of your squad in the third game is only there for half of the game, so they kind of feel like temporary squad mates anyway.
some are more popular than others, they're generally all well loved. But there's one squadmate who is not only unloved, but near universally loathed. I don't even need to do more of a build-up. I didn't need to hide who it was in the thumbnail. You all know this video is about Jacob. Jacob fucking sucks. And you probably agree with me. But I bet you don't realize just how much he sucks. When asked why they dislike Jacob, most people will say it's because he's boring. But that's not just it. Kaidan is also boring, but he has a much larger fan base and isn't nearly as disliked as Jacob.
Sorry about my cough. I will interrupt and say I remember back to when I first played Mass Effect 2. I first meet Jacob after I wake up, from my 2-year coma. I like to pretend I was in a coma and not actually dead. And Jacob's voice, it honestly sounds like the voice actor is just reading from a script. He's not putting passion into his voice at all. He's emotionless. He's a block of wood. Just comes off as a token character, basically. Anyway, moving on.
James Vega is also boring compared to most of the crew, but he also has a decently sized fan base. But Jacob's fan base is composed pretty much entirely of Kasumi.
I don't see why James Vega has a fan base at all. I mean, like, when I first played Mass Effect 3 and James Vega started talking to me, my first response was, who the hell are you and why are you talking to me like we're friends? I mean, every other squad mate had an introduction. James Vega did not. He just jumps in acting like we're friends.
So, let's walk through every garbage aspect of this shit character. First off, yeah, he is boring. Arguably less so than Kaidan.
Oh, and back to that area about, sorry about the interruption. Kasumi, I will never understand. I mean, it honestly feels like her love for Jacob is a contrived, shoehorned excuse to justify why we cannot romance her. She's the first Oriental girl in the entire series, and as far as I remember, the only one. And yeah, we're not allowed to have her. She's beloved by everybody, but all conversations are one way, and we're not allowed to romance her, and that's really sad, upsetting even when we're playing it for the first time.
Kasumi. So, let's
Sorry.
walk through every garbage
Sorry about the interruption there. Basically, the stupid media player conked out on me and I had to restart.
aspect of this shit character. First off, yeah, he is boring. Arguably less so than Kaidan, but compared to the absolutely insane crew you put together in Mass Effect 2, he's Cheerios in the children's cereal section. He's a guy.
I completely forgot that PikMonWolf, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I completely forgot you were the one who made up that quote. I was trying to remember the last 3 years where I heard that quote for the first time. The Cheerios in the children's cereal section. That's a brilliant quote. I love it. It makes sense.
Everyone else is the master of something or a cut above the rest. But Jacob, he's a guy. A soldier. And the idea, obviously, is that he's supposed to be the most grounded character. Shepard's bro, a guy who's got your back in the chaos. But they colossally fuck that up. He works for Cerberus right from the start, with a big aspect of Mass Effect 2 being that you can't fully trust Cerberus and those who work for them. So the logical attitude to take is not to trust him.
I don't care what they did or what you say. I am not working with terrorists.
Compare this to the other two average Joes you start a Mass Effect game with, Kaidan and Vega, the boring squad. You have no reason not to trust them. They are established as characters you already know and have a working relationship.
Yeah, but we still get at least some hint of an introduction. With James, we do not. That's why I still don't like James.
With. Alright, but maybe that's the point, right? You start off not trusting him, but soon see that he can be your best backup in this crazy crew. Well, guess who the game pushes you to recruit first? Garrus fucking Vakarian. He is one of Shepard's best friends and generally considered one of the best bros in literally all of gaming.
I'm ashamed to admit it, and I really do wish the game gave me this option to tell him so, but I honestly thought Garrus Vakarian was a traitor in waiting when I played Mass Effect 1 for the first time. Because, whether you like to admit it or not, Garrus is he's a yes man, basically. I've been watching those videos where the three presidents, Biden, Trump, and Obama, are all playing Mass Effect, and well, Trump points out what I've been thinking, that Garrus feels like a yes man. No matter which choice you make, he doesn't really disagree with you ever. And honestly, when I was playing the first game for the first time all those years ago, it honestly felt like this guy was trying desperately to gain my trust because he is secretly working for Saren. So, moving on. Sorry about the interruption.
So they added a character who's supposed to be your best friend, then give you good reason not to trust him and throw in your actual best friend from the first game right off the bat. So Jacob immediately loses his niche. But surely Shepard can have more than one friend. And hey, at least if Jacob's boring, that means he can't be too annoying or flawed, right? No. See, here's the actual issue with Jacob. What most people don't really actively think about, but definitely notice subconsciously. The real reason Jacob is the worst crewmate is that he has no, absolutely zero, redeeming qualities. Of the Vega, Kaidan, Jacob boring squad, Kaidan is mature, listens well, and is incredibly loyal to the Alliance. Vega is determined, willing to do whatever's needed even at risk to himself, and again, is incredibly loyal. Jacob is none of these things. First off, he's a total fucking asshole. He's supposed to be the nice guy of the ship, but he antagonizes multiple recruits the second they come aboard. Also, gotta love when he insults the Drell assassin who joins you for no cost, but says nothing about the human mercenary who joins you explicitly because he's getting paid.
Yeah, the conflict the conflict that he throws in really feels like it's just there for the sake of adding conflict to an area in the plot where there is no need for conflict. Kind of reminds me of Lost.
Definitely doesn't make Jacob seem inconsistent and racist. And then there's his advice. In Mass Effect 2, there are multiple points where you meet up with a mix of Miranda, Jacob, EDI, and Mordin. During these parts, Jacob not once offers actually good advice. This is the flaw I feel people bring up the least in regards to Jacob's shittiness. And there's going to be actual plot spoilers to Mass Effect 2 here, not just Jacob spoilers. So skip to this point if you haven't played it. Seriously, skip ahead. This spoils some of the cool moments and it's a great game. Just play
I'm not
Alright,
skipping.
Here be spoilers. I warned you. After the mission on the Collector ship, Jacob suggests that you immediately continue onward to the next story mission, collecting a Reaper IFF. The second you get the IFF, you have triggered the endgame. At that point, a countdown starts until your crew is kidnapped, and then the longer you take to start the final mission, the more of them die. So the smart thing to do is to get all of your prep work done before collecting the IFF. Jacob suggests you take the path that gets the most people killed. And guess what? After the crew is kidnapped, Jacob insists that you rush right through the Omega-4 relay to save them. Rushing into the final mission without a loyal team and upgraded ship can lead to an absolute bloodbath of your characters dying left and right. Now, if you prepared yourself fully before collecting the IFF, then you do want to rush into the final mission, because that's how you save your entire crew. But again, Jacob suggested getting the Reaper IFF immediately before you could possibly have...
Assuming you recruit every squad mate, and you do Zaid and Kasum's low missions before the... I'm not finding the thing. He's gonna absolute max. 30 squads not one. The only way to reach even left. Yeah, I don't like the whole perfect timing thing. And I like to take squad mates based on how much unique dialogue they trigger. Like, for example, I always take Grunt and Zaid on the mission to recruit Archangel, aka Garrus, simply because they've got a personal stake in, Zaid has got something to say to the Blue Suns, and Grunt and the leader of the Blood Pack have got something to say to each other as well. P.S. I really do like Gentha, and I hate having to kill her. I always melee her so that I can pretend I knock her out instead.
Have the prep work done. If you collect the Reaper IFF when Jacob says you should, it is literally impossible to be fully prepared for the final mission. And if you are fully prepared, then Miranda will say so and also insist that you rush into the final mission, because she knows that you're ready. So you've got Miranda telling you if you're ready or not.
Speaking of Miranda, am I the only one who really does wish that Miranda be wearing this armor and not the white cat suit in the third game, if you decide to warn her about the space ninja that is following her and you?
And Jacob, who always says to go through, meaning his advice is going to be either wrong or redundant. He adds nothing here. But there are a couple other sections where he gives advice. Maybe he's helpful in those at least, right? Well, what about the part where you bring an inactive Geth and are presented with the choice of selling it to Cerberus or reactivating it to speak to it? Miranda insists you sell it to Cerberus, but there's so little to buy in Mass Effect 2, and by that point you have so much money that there's a good chance you have literally bought every purchasable item by the time you're making this choice.
And of course it becomes literally meaningless in the third game because Cerberus is exactly the same, and all that you've done was add a rather unique Nemesis assassin with a Geth body, basically.
So the money is effectively worthless.
A Nemesis sniper, not a Nemesis assassin. I meant, yeah, you know what I mean.
So at least Miranda's giving the bad advice this time. That means Jacob's on the side of the much smarter reactivate the Geth and speak to it choice, right?
I saw enough of these things I need in Prime. Space it.
Nope! He wants to literally throw a super valuable find out the airlock like it's garbage. Thanks, Jacob. What a brilliant fucking idea. There's no significance at all to a deactivated Geth that spoke to you. Just throw it out! Don't even make money from it! A suggestion so stupid, the game doesn't even let you do it! And then we get to the ending.
I remember questioning that. Why does that option never appear? I mean, Jacob mentions it, so why not give me the option if you're going to have one of your characters mention it? Just feels weird.
Now, technically, Jacob does give good advice here, in that he's the one who suggests splitting the teams into two. But there's no choice there. That's just how the mission proceeds. So he's not a character explaining to Shepard and the player the benefits of choosing a certain option. He's just the one telling you what the next mission's gonna be like. And then you learn that you need to send somebody through the ventilation to hack a door open. And you get these lines.
Someone could sneak in through this ventilation shaft here.
Practically a suicide mission. I volunteer.
I appreciate the thought, Jacob, but you couldn't shut down the security systems in time. We need to send a tech expert.
It's your call, Commander. Who do we send into the shaft?
If you send Jacob into the vents, he dies. Once you have picked him for that job, his fate is completely sealed and there's no way to stop it.
Ironically, I always send Kasumi down the shaft. Partly because she's a DLC character and I want to make more use out of a DLC character, but also because I give her a much more valid excuse to not rejoin the ship in the third game. Otherwise, she just feels like she's just being a coward and doesn't want to do her part in the Reaper War.
So his final grand suggestion gets somebody killed. Fortunately, the person who dies is Jacob. Realistically speaking, sending a character with no tech knowledge, like Jacob, could have potentially gotten numerous characters killed, including Shepard, and cost the entire mission. It just ends up not happening that way. So he eagerly volunteers for a job he...
That reminds me, that is the one thing I like about Dragon Age Veilguard, or Failguard as it's more rightfully called. We can finally get characters we don't like killed off. Something that was completely missing in Mass Effect Andromeda and Dragon Age Inquisition.
Isn't fucking qualified for. However, many people consider it the best advice he gives because it successfully kills off the worst character. However, even if he sucks at his job, an emotional connection can help you look past that, right? Plenty of other squad mates make bad calls, just not as many. Well, Jean Elker puts it very aptly in their article ranking Mass Effect companions. The problem with Jacob isn't that he's boring. The problem with Jacob is that he refuses to open up in any way. When you ask about his experience with the Corsairs, he makes a blanket statement and says that life is behind him. When you ask about his relationship with Miranda, he refuses to go into details. When you ask about his father after his loyalty mission, he doesn't want to talk about it.
Sounds like one giant cop-out. His character is one giant cop-out. Laziness, lazy writing, blanket statements, don't like them.
How are players supposed to connect with a character who doesn't seem to want to connect with them? It's a fun little article without any of that slideshow bullshit. Link in the description if anyone wants to give it a read. And now, let's talk about the separation of a player's view of a character and a character's view of a character. In games with lots of choice, there will be different circumstances that NPCs find themselves in, and how they react to these situations is something that the player considers when forming an opinion. The player character, however, only sees the outcome that happens in one specific playthrough, and so will players who only play through the game once. However, knowing how characters respond to situations that you did not find yourself in is still a valid means of judging them. A perfect example of this is the Undertale Genocide route. Many people have not actually played through this route, myself included, but they are aware of how characters act in it. Characters such as Undyne and Sans gained a lot of popularity due to how they respond to the player in this route. A route that many players did not personally experience is still considered when they form their opinion of these characters. So, why bring this up? It's because now we're going to judge Jacob for his shitty romance and the shitty things he does in it, despite the fact that basically nobody ever romances him because he sucks. Jacob is the worst romance option in the series, because he does something that no other character in Mass Effect does, and is rarely done by any romanceable character in any game because it is simply not fun to experience. He cheats on the player character.
To be fair, to be absolutely fair, I think BioWare threw heterosexual femshep under the bus. Truly. They threw her under the bus. She only gets 4 romance options in the entire game, and they consist of the boring beta male that is Kate and Alenko, the cheater that is James Vega, well, not James Vega, crap, sorry James, Jacob Taylor, and a terminally ill alien with toxic skin. Seriously, not only is Thane doomed to die in one way or another, but she is advised against licking his skin because that'll cause a toxic reaction. And, of course, everybody's favorite, Garrus Vakarian. But the problem with Garrus Vakarian, as awesome as he is that he cannot give her biological children if she wants them. So that's the one huge drawback he's got. Yep. They threw her under the bus.
When you encounter Jacob in Mass Effect 3, after romancing him in Mass Effect 2, he has started a relationship with this woman, Bryn. Mass Effect 3 takes place 6 months after 2, with Shepard being in Alliance custody during that time. This is something brought up in pretty much every rekindled romance, but Jacob is the only one who cheats on you. And this could perhaps be interesting if it was portrayed as a major character flaw that they really hone in on. But no, the more you learn, the more insulting it gets. During the 6 months, nearly every romanceable character is taking care of important business. Tali returns to the fleet. Garrus sets up a task force. Liara is...
Information redacted.
Thane is...
Oh, hardy har har. You're going to pretend that the Shadow Broker got hold of this video and edited it during the broadcast and, well, you had no hand in that. That's pretty funny. That's a pretty funny joke. Yeah, this is why I say it was Mass Effect 3 and not Mass Effect Andromeda where BioWare really screwed the pooch by basically destroying this little thing that all players, well, all honest players want, and that is escapism. We want escapism. If we wanted to be rejected or worse, cheated on, we would simply live in reality. We would not be playing these games.
Kindling his relationship with family, and Miranda is watching over her sister. And all of them stand by Shepard during that time, eager to continue the romance once they're no longer in custody. So what is Jacob doing during that 6 months? Perhaps if he was doing life or death vital work, it could be understood if he found his way into somebody's arms.
So I quit Cerberus. I quit everything. And sat by the Mediterranean for a while. That's when I lost track of you.
And what did all the fresh air and meditation teach you?
That what I choose to fight for better mean something to me. That it comes from the heart.
And unfortunately, that's one of those big moments where the dialogue wheel really tricks you into thinking you're about to say something else.
He went to the fucking beach! He sits on his ass chilling on the beach, shacking up with somebody else, then he has the
I got a quick question for the audience. How is FemShep wearing the Cerberus engineer armor? I really don't remember that being an option.
fucking audacity to try and blame you. Wow, waiting 6 months? Nobody else had trouble waiting. What, did the sand between your toes make it too much to bear?
It's called gaslighting.
Okay, but maybe the romance was just casual, right? A hookup and nothing more. Maybe it was pretty reasonable to just move on. Well, here's how Jacob responds if you tell him you're ending things with him to date somebody else.
You pushed for more, and now you pull the plug? Hope you've got a good excuse for this one.
If you must know, I'm cleaning house before trying to start something with Garrus.
That cuttlebone? I suppose you have a history. That's usually enough. Alright, Shepard. You want to pretend this makes it okay?
And they say Ashley's the racist. If Ashley was called Garrus a cuttlebone, it's guaranteed that the people who hate her would be jumping on that line, but they don't because it's Jacob Taylor, and therefore it's okay when he does it.
I can do that. A nice official wall.
Dear BioWare, if you ever give us another token black character again as a squad mate, please make it a hot girl instead of a bland guy, because the only character that I personally think is worse than Jacob Taylor is Liam from Andromeda. Seriously, that guy is the worst. I could write a whole novel, I could fill out a volume with reasons to kill him off in the story. Seriously. But unlike Jacob, we don't have that option with Liam. And before you try to say, oh, but you're being racist, Rick, no, I think it's you, BioWare, and BioWare sycophants who are the racists, because you attribute these stupid character cliches to the token black guy and not to, well, personally, I'd rather you not have them at all. I don't want any more cheaters, and I don't want any more irrational idiots getting to, well, put my life in jeopardy and get away with it in the game.
Go do what you want. I don't need the hassle.
He throws a fit when you break with him honestly, but then blames you when he leaves you for somebody else without telling you while you're under arrest. And I feel I should mention that when you don't romance Jacob, Bryn is actually a pretty likable character. She's shown as competent and caring, but overconfident and paying for it. But when you romance Jacob, she becomes an insufferable that gets into catfights with you over this garbage character.
Because I'm also going to tell you this. The best place for Jacob now is with me. I hope that you can see that.
And seriously, this is another reason why there's a giant list of reasons why I hate Mass Effect 3, and one of them is the fact that you're not allowed to give people what you think they deserve. Like that right there deserves a punch to the face response right now. And because the commander is also a woman, I say it's okay. Yeah, woman hitting woman.
I don't want to talk about this with you. My relationship with Jacob is none of your business.
And hey, she's Cerberus and you're Alliance, so all the more reason why it should be okay.
I did not romance Jacob. Not even for this video specifically about him. I used a save editor for this footage. I would never romance Jacob. This still makes me hate him because it reveals the kind of person he is as a character. Now don't get me wrong. A character being an asshole doesn't mean they're poorly written. Miranda is a well-done and well-loved character, and she is intentionally obnoxious at the start of Mass Effect 2. They actively make her a bitch, with other characters referring to her as such, and Shepard having the option to. I'm generally not one to go around calling women I've just met who just saved my life bitches.
To start, I would have implanted you with some type of control chip, but the elusive man wouldn't allow it.
But honestly, it's a pretty accurate description of early game Miranda. But this is intentional. They want her to start off on the wrong foot with you and push Shepard away to emphasize her warming up to you later. This contrasts heavily with Jacob, who is supposed to be likable, but instead he's completely insufferable. Mass Effect 3 is especially bad about acting like he's some close friend of yours. Even when he fucking cheats on you, the game acts like he has some kind of point. Glad you're doing.
I must admit that I never played as female Shepard, so I never experienced anything wrong here, and personally I didn't mind Brynn at all. She comes off as a pretty good woman, like you explained. So, yeah, when I first watched this video, I was shocked at how nasty she was. Especially brave, how brave she is, considering the fact that she's talking to a woman who could easily kill her with her bare hands. But I don't know. The game Mass Effect 3 is a huge mess.
Good, Jacob. Wow, I'm happy you and the woman you left me for are getting along. Man, Jacob, you're so nice and such a good soldier despite being the least useful squad mate in Mass Effect 2. Oh yeah, did I mention that? He's worthless in Mass Effect 2 gameplay as well. He is functionally similar to Grunt, but with worse offense and defense. There is no reason to use him once you've awakened the crow.
There is very little I hate about Mass Effect 2, but one of them was turning our ammunition into skills instead of being implants. And that is one of the few things I love about Andromeda. They put ammunition back as an inventory item instead of a skill.
Krogan. He is a character who is useless in gameplay, useless in the story, a total asshole, completely unloyal to the Alliance, Cerberus, and you, and he never suffers any consequences for it. If he survives into Mass Effect 3, he gets a good ending. Literally, every non-Jacob full squad mate from any game in the Mass Effect series can or will die at some point in Mass Effect 3. But no matter what you do with Jacob, he gets a happily ever after. The lack of consequences for his fucking awful behavior is why he inspires so much rage. Nobody likes seeing assholes get a happy ending. Here's the nicest thing I can say about...
Hold on. The phrase you're looking for is Karma Houdini. It's a trope called Karma Houdini, whenever a guy manages to slip away from getting any consequences for his actions, when he gets away scot-free from the things he deserves. That's one of the things it's one of the reasons why I stopped liking SpongeBob when I was little, because I got sick and tired of SpongeBob getting away with things that he shouldn't.
Jacob. His loyalty mission is actually really good. For those who are unaware, every squad mate in Mass Effect 2 has a loyalty mission in which Shepard helps them solve something very personal to them, allowing them to better focus on the primary mission.
I do hate that. And you're right. His loyalty mission is beautiful. It happens outdoors, the setting's nice, the characters are engaging. Why they had to attach it to Jacob, no idea.
Jacob's is that his father is missing, but he may have suddenly gotten a lead on where he ended up. You find the ship his father was on and where it crashed. It's an amazing and brutal Heart of Darkness story that utilizes the science fiction setting perfectly, using mechs and a strange foreign planet. I'm not going to do a deep dive on it, but the important things to know are that it is incredibly dark and that his father is a horrible man. And here's where the niceties end. Jacob adds nothing to his own loyalty mission. Basically, his entire presence can be boiled down to, wow, this is bad. Yeah, thanks BioWare. To the character to learn that they think keeping slaves is...
That's the one thing I hate about this loyalty mission. The guy who we have to bring along, his monotone, I can't stand his monotone. Like I said earlier in the video, it feels like he's just reading from a script. He feels like he's just talking for the sake of talking, throwing in conflict for the sake of conflict. It's like he's trying to throw in the anger emotion or some kind of emotion in a desperate attempt to, throw an emotion. Like, throw everything at the wall and hope that something sticks.
Not nice. Once you get to the end where you confront his father, Jacob's emotions just don't come through. It's hard to say whether the writing or the voice acting are to blame, but he just feels so flat in what should be a super emotional moment.
There's no way I'm letting this slide, Taylor. Price will be paid.
How much? What kind of math can balance these lives? His life isn't worth pulling the damn trigger.
I think they're trying to present him as calm and level-headed in this insane situation, but instead it just adds to his boringness. There's honestly quite a few comparable scenes, and Jacob's is the flattest by a mile. Here's the least spoilery of the bunch for comparison.
Just leave me here. This is where I belong.
Fuck that!
He deserves it.
I decide how to deal with my past, not you. I gave you an order. Killing him isn't gonna fix my head. Get out of here. Go!
The tragic irony of Courtney Taylor there, the girl who voiced Jack, she's superbly talented. You know, I loved the passion she put into Jack. But sadly, the way she attacked the mod maker, who added her to the DLC, to the Citadel DLC, that was mean. Courtney, if you're listening to this, that was mean of you. Shame on you. If anything, you should have offered them a chance to use your actual voice. You know, you could have recorded some lines and helped them out with their little project. I mean, I really wanted that mod because, you know, I was supremely disappointed with how you were not there for the final mission, for that DLC mission, the epilogue mission. That DLC was sold to me with false advertising. I was told that I would get to have one more mission with my favorite Mass Effect 2 squad mates. Only I got Rex from Mass Effect 1, and that was it. Nobody else.
He's not worth chasing. None of it is.
The writing and delivery are miles better in this scene, and this part has many more alternative outcomes than the end of Jacob's loyalty mission. And now the elephant in the room.
Oh dear.
The human squad mates of the series are a pretty
Ukrainian named man. Oh, so it's Ukrainian. Okay, I was wondering. I thought it was Greek. I honestly thought that Caden Alenko would be Greek. Ukrainian named man born in Singapore, lived in Canada, whose face model is Hispanic. Yeah, Latino. Yeah, I think Latino.
wide range of ethnicities. However, of the squad mates, Jacob is the only one who is black. Take a second to think about the loyalty mission I just described.
Oh dear.
Jacob's the one black crewmate you have in the series, and his mission is tracking down his father who abandoned him. That's a really bad reinforcement of an offensive stereotype. However, it's not quite as bad as it seems at a glance. Mass Effect characters and daddy issues go hand in hand. It's even become something of a meme. Jacob isn't even the only character that plays into the absentee father trope. Liara has one, and Thane is one. The real problem is that once you get into Mass Effect 3, they don't stray away from harmful stereotypes. Instead, they pile them on. Not only is Jacob now in a relationship with Brynn, leaving Shepard, he accidentally got her pregnant. The one black squad mate is the only romance partner who cheats on you for a side chick that he accidentally knocked up out of marriage. That's really, really fucking bad. Like, seriously, what the actual fuck? This is an amalgamation of offensive black stereotypes. I will not hesitate to say that this is by far the most problematic aspect of the entire series, including the original Mass Effect 3 ending. I do feel safe saying that this was not intentional racism, however, considering that Mass Effect 3 does have some wonderful representation, like Cortez. It is so rare to see gay characters of color, especially where neither are their defining traits. And this was done back in 2012. Maybe they thought it would be the opposite of the absentee father stereotype. I mean, Jacob says he's going to do well by the child, and he never mentions wanting to run away or abandon it. So that's something, right? Right?
Never goes
No,
out.
it's still really fucking bad. There are a million ways to downplay or qualify it, but at the end of the day, it's just really fucking bad, BioWare.
Well, Jacob can always say he's running off to Earth to go pick up some space eggs and space milk and then blow it up, but that's Frieza's joke, and I don't want to rip off Team 4-Star.
So not only does Jacob have no redeeming features while not facing any consequences for his awful actions, as written, he's a very offensive racial stereotype. That is why Jacob Taylor is the worst squad mate in Mass Effect. The only reason I haven't said he's the worst character in Mass Effect is because Kai Lang exists, and even then,
no.
who's the worst is up for debate. I want to emphasize that I'm not trying to cancel BioWare here. Even if I thought it would be justified, it wouldn't be my place. This isn't my fight. More people of color worked on Mass Effect than worked on this video. But these are criticisms I've heard echoed multiple times by people of color, and I felt that I had a responsibility to at least mention them in a video of this nature. I don't like ending on such a serious note, especially for a series that I do love and that has touched the hearts of so many, and as a whole, has a ton of very positive representation. So I will be revisiting Mass Effect again in my next video, and that time with a positive focus. I will be looking at the best squadmate in the series, and contrary to what this video may make you think, it's actually not going to be about Garrus. Stay tuned.
Alright, and thank you very much for taking your time to make that video, and thank you for your permission to make this video. I know you're probably not going to like the fact that I basically showed the entirety of your video instead of cutting it up, but in my defense, two things. First off, I am a very lousy editor. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm really new at this game. And second, even if I did edit it down, I'm almost guaranteed to not get more than 50 views on this video. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get 100 in a few years. But YouTube's algorithm has so far been quite unmerciful to me. So we shall see. Please hit the like button and subscribe, and possibly have the bell clicked for notifications. And yeah, you all take care.